How to read Christ in concrete. I'm going to cut to the chase and go directly to the practical instructions, suggestions. A very short premise. It is a difficult text, undoubtedly. For many students, it will probably be the most difficult text that you've ever read so far. For other students, it will be one of the complex texts that you have approached. But because it is difficult, it is important that you approach it the right way. There is not just one way of reading. This novel, requires, in general terms, that you read slowly. But even more important, you have to find the rhythm of the sentences. I will give you a small example later. But from the very beginning, when you approach it, read it out loud in your mind, at least. Hear yourself pronounce the words. This will slow you down. And then once you pick up the rhythm, then you will be able, after one chapter or so, to increase the speed. Number one. Number two, do not get bogged down with the details. It does not matter who the various characters are. In the very first chapter, there is a list of characters that are introduced very quickly. One says one thing, another one says another thing. There is a rapid-fire dialogue. Do not worry about who says what. This is not what matters. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. The goal of Di Donato in many parts of the book is to render the idea of a whole community talking. It doesn't really matter who says what, but it is what emerges from a group of people that understand each other automatically, that have the same lingo, that have the same language, that use the same metaphors, that make constant references to in-jokes. Now, we are looking at it from the outside, although we have narrators inside that tell us the story. And all we can do is watch the spectacle unfold in front of our eyes. So two things. Do not get bogged down on details. Obviously, there are 2-3 main characters, but they will have their own definite reality, and you will realize that. The other ones are extras, supernumeraries, as they call them. Okay, and the first notion that I just mentioned is read slowly and with a rhythm. So here's the book. It's preferable, let me see, okay. It's preferable that you all have this edition. There is another one. It's a smaller paperback. I don't have it here. But the page numeration would be different. So when I quote a page, when I mention the particular page that you should look at, they will create some complications. Okay, so the very first book is the book is divided in books. It is Geremio, and then I'm going to read the very first couple of paragraphs. Probably I will have to do a couple of takes because it's different to read it mentally and to read it out loud. But try to follow my rhythm and look at the page as I'm reading it. I'm at the first page. In my book, it's page 3. March whistled stinging snow against the brick walls and up the gaunt girders. Geremio the foreman swung his arms about and gaffed the man on. Old Nick the Lean stood up from over a dust-flying brick pile, tapped the side of his nose, and sent an oyster directly to the ground. Master Geremio, the devil himself could not break his tail any harder than we hear. Burly Giulio, of the walrus mustache, and known as the Snout Nose, let fail the chute door of the concrete hopper and sang over in the Lean's direction. Mariannina's belly and the burning night will make of me once more a milk-mouthed stripling lad. The Lean loaded his wheelbarrow and spat furiously. Son of two-legged dog, despised of even the devil himself. Work, sure, for America Beautiful will eat you and spit your bones into the earth's hole. Work! And with that, his wiry frame pinched the barrow violently over the rough floor. Snout Nose waved his head to and fro, and with mock pathos wailed, Sing on, of guitar of mine. Short, cheery-faced Thomas, the scaffold man, paused with hatchet in hand and tenpenny spike sticking out from small dice-like teeth to tell the Lean, as he went by, in a voice that all could hear, Ah, father of countless chicks, the old age is a carrion. Jeremiah chuckled and called to him, Hey, little Thomas, who are you to talk? You and big-titted Cola can't even hatch an egg, whereas the Lean has just to turn the doorknob of the bedroom and old Philomena becomes a balloon. And so forth. These are construction people. Jeremiah, the foreman, they are on the work site and they're bantering. They are teasing each other. They are making references to their personal lives. And they're talking normally the way a group of such people. We are listening from the outside. Does it really matter who Thomas, Lean, and the other ones are? No, it doesn't. Any one of those people could have said the very same things. Now, one of the aspects of the language of this book is the fact that in Pietro de Donato's, in the author's mind, these people are speaking Italian. It is semi-autobiographical. He was a bricklayer. His father was a bricklayer. This is part of the history of his family. These people speak Italian on the job. So when he writes their dialogues in English, he tries to stick to Italian as much as possible. So you heard the expression, the old age is a carrion. What does it mean in English? It's not a metaphor that we use. La vecchiaia è una carogna. Carrion. That is a very typical expression in Italian. To be a carrion means to be mean. It's a very negative connotation. I'm not going to get into the synonyms, but to be a carrion is something completely negative. It's worse than being a bitch. No, life is a bitch and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, if we go on, I want to get to the bottom of the next page, page 4, the very last paragraph. Follow me. And here we are into another dimension of this writing. Pushing the job is all right. When has it been otherwise in my life? But this job frightens me. I feel the building wants to tell me something, just as one Christian to another. Or perhaps the Easter week is making of me a spirit-seeing pregnant woman. I don't like this. Mr. Murding tells me, push it up. That's all he knows. I keep telling him the underpinnings should be doubled and the old material removed from the floors, but he keeps the inspector drunk and, hey, ass, get away from under the pilaster. Don't pull the old work. Push it away from you, or you'll have a nice present for Easter if the wall falls on you. Well, with the help of God, I'll see this job through. Two things. This is Jeremiah, and what we read are his thoughts. But the book doesn't tell you Jeremiah thought, Jeremiah said, Jeremiah dreamt. He throws you into a situation where all the lines are from somebody's perspective. and it switches constantly between dialogue and thoughts, inner reflections and descriptions. In this case, Jeremio at first is thinking his thoughts about the job, and then he switches into commands that he's giving to one of the workers. He's the foreman. And there is a rapid fire. There is no distinction. There is no introduction. So you are following almost in real time the working of his mind and his mouth. Yes, for those of you who have read before texts of this kind, this is similar to stream of consciousness, which was first introduced to a masterful form by James Joyce in Ulysses, and then was repeated by other famous writers such as William Faulkner, John Dos Passos, and others. Okay, well, we are at page 8, and it is the second chapter of the book, the first book called Jeremio. And let's read this. Actually, I'm going to read the second paragraph. It starts with trowel. It's not going to be easy to read it. So if I trip here and there, forgive me, but it really is not easy to read out loud. In your mind, it's not as complex, but reading it out loud and keeping the rhythm is not an easy feat. Trowel rang through brick and slashed mortar rivets, where machine gun fast with angry grind. Patsy number 1, check. Patsy number 2, check. The lean 3, check. Giulio 4, still bellowed back at hammered donkey engines, coughed purple ash asses. Pietro 15, chisel pointing toned stone, thin steel weird, and wailed through wood liquid stone, flowed with dull rasp through iron veins, and hoist screamed through space. Rosario the Fat 24, and Giacomo Sangini check. The multitudinous voices of a civilization rose from the surroundings and melted with the efforts of the job. Capital J. The very last line, in my view, is superfluous, because it is clear that what this paragraph does is rendering the simultaneous activities of all these people and the machines they are interacting with. Not only, but there is what is called onomatopoeia, which is rendering through the sound of words the sounds of the physical world. So trowel rang. Rang is like, sounds like a metal banging. English is particularly effective in this, has this particular feature in this regard. So when you read this passage, think about the sound and how it renders also the sound of machinery. So yes, I only assigned very few pages at the beginning because I want you to get accustomed to the rhythm, and I want you to find your own rhythm and be able to understand what is going on without, again, losing your mind trying to capture every little detail. Get the sense of what is happening, and then we'll go from there.